Excellent. Thanks, Saul. Good afternoon. I'd like to welcome everyone to this meetings of the Boston Art Commission. My name is Alexandra Paul Sotov, and I'm the Public Art Registrar within the Mayor's Office of Arts and Culture. In this capacity, I'm also the Administrator of the Boston Art Commission. Let's just all take a moment to update our names and pronouns, as well as ensure we're muted. In accordance with the Commonwealth of Massachusetts Executive Order suspending certain provisions of open meeting law, we're conducting this meeting virtually. As a reminder, this was extended until 2026. To ensure public access to the deliberations of the Boston Art Commission, the public may join this meeting through telephone and video conferencing. For those of you with us today, the meeting is being recorded and closed captioning is available. You can access this at the bottom of your screen. If you're having trouble locating that button, please chat us for assistance. The Mayor's Office of Arts and Culture and the Boston Art Commission that public art is any artwork installed in publicly accessible spaces where they can be experienced by all for free. For transparency and community input, artworks proposed for the City of Boston property are reviewed and discussed at the meetings of the Boston Art Commission on a regular, usually monthly basis. Working together with the public art team in the Mayor's Office of Arts and Culture and the Boston Art Commission, it's an independent board commission composed of 2 ex officio and 7 volunteer community members appointed by the mayor. The Boston Art Commission has exclusive authority to approve and commission artworks intended to be added to the city's art collection or placed on city property. And just before we begin, we're just going to have a message from Interim Chief Kenny Mascari.
All right, good afternoon, everyone. I want to begin by sharing an important transition within our community, and it is that Karen Goodfellow has concluded her service with the City of Boston, closing a remarkable 19-year chapter of leadership and impact. And we're profoundly grateful for her vision, her unwavering commitment to artists, and her belief in the power of public spaces to reflect, challenge, and inspire our communities. Throughout her tenure, Karen championed artists of every background and discipline, expanding opportunities for them to shape Boston's cultural landscape. Her work ensured that our public spaces are not only welcoming and imaginative, but also places where history, identity, and cultural relevance can be explored with honesty and depth. Her leadership and mentorship has left a lasting imprint on the city, on all of us who have had the privilege of working alongside her. So on behalf of the entire MOAC team, we thank you for your continued trust and partnership as we carry forward the work that has been built over many years. And our colleague here, Birgit Worcester, will be the interim director of public art. If there are any questions related to this, please feel free to reach out to me via email, or we can set up time if you have any questions. But just wanted to start by recognizing Karen and her contributions, and we look forward to continuing to move the work forward with the team that is currently assembled and with the leadership of Birgit as interim director of public art. Thank you. With that, I think, yes, pass it back to Paul.
The public art team in the Mayor's Office of Arts and Culture facilitates the Boston Art Commission public meetings and manages all phases, daily operations, and duties related to public art projects cited and proposed for the City of Boston property in collaboration with the Art Commission, community members, and other colleagues at the city. Here's some of our team, and here are our consultants. And then pass it off to John.
Thanks so much, Paul. Welcome, everyone. I call this public hearing to order at 4:36 p.m. Today, the commission is meeting to hold its monthly public meeting. These are generally held on the second Tuesday of every month, although this is the third Tuesday. Thank you. But we hope you'll continue to join us at these meetings. We engage in discussions about public art in Boston in order to foster the creation and collection of artworks that reflect the people, ideas, histories, and futures of Boston, which is located on the traditional homeland of the Massachusetts people and the neighboring Wampanoag and Nipmuc peoples. We acknowledge the atrocities committed against Indigenous peoples all of the communities that have been subsequently harmed and the ways in which colonialism has created systemic oppression. We recognize the continuing presence of these communities and the Indigenous peoples represented in the city's residents, in addition to those in the diaspora. We also recognize that Boston exists as a result of the forced labor and economic extraction from enslaved African Americans. I'll now take a roll call of commissioners to confirm a quorum. After I state your name, Commissioner, please say here. I begin with Vice Chair James Mason.
Here.
Ian Altavere.
Here.
Diana Fernandez-Bibeau. Nigel Jacob. I saw you there, Nigel. Are you here? Caitlin Lowry.
Here.
Kenny Mascari.
Here.
And I know Abigail couldn't make it today. But we do have a quorum. Thanks so much. On this slide, you'll see today's agenda, which is also posted publicly on the city's website, boston.gov.
John, just sorry interrupting because Diana just entered the meeting.
Oh, great.
And
Thanks,
Nigel's
Diana.
sound is off.
Okay, thank you. We'll now review meeting minutes from last month's meeting. Are there any comments or modifications commissioners would like to make? If not, would any commissioner like to make a motion to approve the December meeting minutes?
So moved.
Thanks, Ian. Do I have a second?
Second.
After I say your name, Commissioner, please say yes if you agree with the motion. James?
Yes.
Ian?
Yes.
Diana?
Yes.
Nigel?
Yes.
Caitlin?
Yes.
Kenny?
Yes.
And I'm a yes as well. The motion passes. Thanks so much for that. I'll now pass to Alexandra Paul Zotov, who will highlight the presentations for public review, and Birgit Worcester will give the director's report next.
So we have three items on the agenda today. The first is Living Histories of Color, a temporary installation in the final design phase presented for City Hall Galleries at City Hall. The artist is Kayla Simoné, and the proponent is Marsha Kim Jackson from the Forum for Racial Equity and Justice. The other two proposals are, one is Big Other, a temporary installation as part of Winteractive, also in the final design phase for City Hall Plaza by the Collectif Pierre and Marie, and the proponent is the Downtown Business Alliance with Kelsey Pramick. And the third and final presentation for today is The Word on the Street, a temporary installation that's also part of Winteractive, presented for 500 Washington Street by Scott Froschauer, and the proponent is also the Downtown Business Alliance.
Great, thank you, Paul. For the director's report and updates on ongoing projects in installation, we have site work for Coconut Grove Memorial still in progress, with foundation work nearly complete and the installation of a memorial sculpture planned for this summer. After resolving a malfunction identified last fall during the installation of Call and Response Radiating Safety by Lemerci Fraser, the light fixture for the sculpture was repaired, replaced, and tested at sunset last week to confirm the lighting program is working properly. Once the artist has determined the color presets, the project will come to the BAC for accessioning. Projects in design and fabrication. Project manager Amber Torres recently held a meeting with artist Adam Frank and Landscape Forms and Lighting Solutions to discuss the potential design, engineering, fabrication, and installation of a custom light pole for the Copley Square Park. The pole will be designed to safely support and operate 2 projectors for the public art light projections within the park. And through a Canvas of Culture program, MOAC has entered its 2nd year of producing commissioned public art at Boston Public Schools. Many of those projects you've seen here at the BAC. Upcoming artworks for BAC review include murals by Yuki Lee at Josiah Quincy Elementary School, Michael Talbot at the Orenberger School, and Corey Thomas, Quest 9, at Sarah Roberts Elementary. Subsequent artists in the program are currently implementing the student and community engagement phase for their designs. And through this program, 11 artists will produce new murals at 9 Boston Public Schools this spring and summer to 2026. The public art collection, ongoing collections care work continues across the city's public art collection. Public art registrar Alexander Paul Zotov is working closely with dataless conservation during the winter season to schedule conservation treatments and routine preservation efforts, marking an important shift towards a sustained cycle of proactive maintenance and stewardship rather than reactive stabilization alone. The team is currently awaiting decisions on Community Preservation Act funding and is preparing a February submission to the Henderson Foundation to support a collections fellow joining the program this summer. Looking ahead, staff anticipates sharing the first round of interpretive signage for the existing public art collection with the commission this spring, alongside the long-anticipated launch of the public art website and Bloomberg Connects video content, which you'll see a sneak peek of here. And a new component of sharing out is the director's report on the AIR Artist in Residence program. In the fall of 2025, under the supervision of Dean Rollins Harris, MOAC solicited applications from local artists and facilitators to participate in the AIR strategic planning process. More than 130 applicants were received, and a panel composed of artists, city employees, and community members is currently being convened to review them. The AIR strategic planning process will engage one strategic planning consultant and 4 to 5 artists to help reimagine the mission and programmatic structure of MOAC's Artist in Residence program. Following AIR's 3-year programmatic hiatus, programming will relaunch in the spring of 2026, incorporating the recommendations and insights of the strategic planning team. The strategic planning process will further strengthen MOAC's and the public art team's engagement with community members in programmatic design, as we seek additional opportunities for participatory collaboration and decision-making with our constituents. And I will pass it back to you, John.
Thanks so much, Birgit, and thanks, Paul. We'll now move on to the items on the agenda for review, public testimony, and commission vote. On the screen, you'll see how you can participate in today's meeting. If you have technical difficulties, you can ask questions in the chat and a member of staff will help you. When public testimony is requested, you can press the raise your hand icon and we'll call on you. Or if you're calling in, press *9 to raise your hand. I'll now pass to James Mason.
Our goal is to make this meeting a good experience for all. Please remember to keep your comments on topic, brief, and respectful of others. You can submit longer written testimony at bac@boston.gov. If you're called on, please state your name, title, program, and organization if relevant.
Thanks, James. Our first project for discussion is Living Histories of Color, and I pass this off to Amber Torres.
Thank you, John. The Living Histories of Color exhibit has been displayed at City Hall annually for the past few years and is being proposed to return for Black History Month in 2026. We're always excited to work with organizations like the Forum for Racial Equity and Justice to activate the mezzanine, which is heavily used by City Hall staff and is one of the public areas in City Hall that is most accessible to constituents. These panels will be on display as the mezzanine balcony gallery up above, which has been activated with art, and is curated by MOAC staff Mariana Ray, is currently in transition, and a new show will be up right after this show comes down. And with that, I'll hand it over to Marcia.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Now you can hear me. Great. Thank you so much, Amber, and thank you to the team for allowing me this opportunity to speak with you this afternoon. I'm going to just run through the slides, and please forgive my background. I'm in the car. My husband has a medical appointment, so I'm actually waiting for him to come back to the car, but I can read my slides if you're okay with that. So the background of the project is really one that I believe is important to know about. It started as a concept in 2020 following the murder of George Floyd, and it evolved into a physical exhibition in 2023. And the goal is threefold. One is to sort of create a exhibit, a container for which we could talk about Black and Brown history, contemporary history, that is, not former history, And that is the focus of the Living Histories of Color name, and to also use it as a way to shift the narrative about how we talk about communities of color, so that we can understand that people who are living in communities in Boston are contributing and not necessarily people who are reticent or are just pass-throughs for the resources of the city of Boston. And then I also think the third piece is to celebrate the contributions of the honorees in the exhibit. And then finally, another goal of the exhibit is to capture these stories in a table book that would live on in history, and that we would have in libraries and in schools, people learn about these people who are really making history. Next slide, please. So here's a sample of one of the panels. We chose people who are first and onlys in their field. An example is Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley, who's the first Black Congresswoman to lead Massachusetts, and I'm sorry, to represent Massachusetts in the House of Representatives, and she is no stranger to us or to you, I'm sure. And she is but one of the 60 people that we profile in the exhibit. You might notice that there's a picture. There is a narrative about Ayanna that she self-authored, and every one of the artists self-author these narratives. And then finally, there is a QR code that would allow them to share themselves and their stories in video form. And every panel that we produce in this format also has an explanation of the exhibit for people to look at. But the panels themselves are standalone vinyl panels that have the stories and the picture of each of the honorees on them, and it's a separate panel with the background of the exhibit. Next slide, please. So these are but a few of the names that are featured in the exhibit. This is the current cohort of people. As I mentioned, this is the 5th cohort over the last few years. Next slide. Again, another example of the panel. This is the panel that's a hang panel in the State House. And you may notice on the right-hand side, there are all the places that the exhibit has been in the last, probably the last 2 years, really, because the first year we simply only did City Hall and the State House. But we've evolved since then, and even now there are many more places. Thank you. Next slide. I am the artist. Essentially, I'm the one who created the concept and who have engaged several photo artists and those who do video work. And the design was graciously done by Mass Design because they believed in the work of equity, and they understood that this work is to nurture an equity, history-informed, connected, and civically empowered community that in unity leads purposeful change and expanded vibrance. Next slide, please. So we've talked about the site. We will install 18 panels on the 3rd floor mezzanine on February 2nd, and we've laid that out here in terms of how it will be laid out. Next slide, please. The fabrication, as I mentioned, is their vinyl sidings, vinyl panels installed in a metallic base, and they were manufactured by a second party out of Alpha Graphics Boston. They're about 8 feet tall and 4 feet wide. There's no equipment needed for setup. They just pull them up and then they're set up. And essentially, we suspect that they will be kept safe. They're almost damage-proof unless somebody decides to cut them or write on them. But I suspect that nobody will do that because they're respectful of this work. Next slide, please. And I think that's it. Thank you so much for the time to present. I appreciate it. I welcome any comments, please.
Marcia, thank you so much for the presentation. I'll now pass to any commissioners who may have questions.
Kenny here. Hi, Marcia. Thanks for coming back. When is the coffee table book slated to come out? Do you have a timeline on that yet?
You know, I don't, because it's really based on funding. It is not funded yet. Our biggest funding right now is focused on getting the other cohort of the exhibit up. But my goal ultimately is to have that completed by 2027. That's the goal. Thank you for asking.
I like that question, Kenny.
Mhm.
Marcia, one question for you. I know you've shared that you've installed this in other locations. Did you use the same bases in those other locations? I know there wasn't an image of it, so I just want to make sure how stable and steady those are.
Yeah, to answer the last part, they're very stable. These are metallic bases where the exhibit panels pull up from. Imagine those pull-up banners you might see at different places as used as signage. So they're fairly stable. They're quite weighty, and they've been exhibited outside at the park. When we do the Juneteenth celebration, we actually exhibit it outside, and they stand up fairly well. But you asked about other formats, and there are hanging formats because the State House does not allow art to be placed on the floor in the State House. So they ask that they be hanging on panels. So we have a hanging panel format that we use as well. And they're on what looks like, I'm not sure what the fabric is that panels are, but they're fabric panels that are exhibit panels that are vinyl get attached to using probably we've used pins before, or there's some fashions that we use. Hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, thank you so much, Marcia. Any other commissioners?
I have a suggestion around the book, Marcia. I've seen some folks kind of like for sustainability reason, and when they're faced with insurmountable funding goals, they do a la carte, like, you make the numbers that are ordered. That way there's production and there's movement. So is that something that you've explored as well in terms of, still getting some momentum, or is there like a funding goal that you are presumably needing to meet in order for this project to move into that next phase?
That's a great question, Kenny. Thank you for that. I had not thought of that option, but certainly it's intriguing. And what I would say is we want to get the stories out of these living history honorees however we can. So if there's a way for us to do it with an order only option, we will absolutely explore that. So maybe you and I could talk some more about that. Thank you for that.
Any other commissioners with questions? I now open it to any members of the public who might have a question or comment for Marcia about this project. Marcia, it seems that you answered all of our questions. I open it up now to any commissioner who would like to make a motion to approve the final design of Living Histories of Color at City Hall Galleries.
I would like to make a motion to approve.
Thanks, Kenny. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thanks, Caitlin. After I say your name, Commissioner, please say yes if you agree with the motion. James?
Yes.
Ian?
Yes.
Diana?
Yes.
Nigel?
Yes.
Caitlin?
Yes.
Kenny?
Yes.
And I vote yes as well. Congratulations, Marcia. I think we're all excited and eager to see this installed in City Hall. And I can't wait to learn more about both our representatives and other leaders that you've included in this project. So looking
That's
forward to
great.
it.
Thank you so, so much. I appreciate this opportunity so much. And I wanted to just give a shout out to Ms. Torres Amber, who's been just an example of what it means to be service focused and supportive, and a real enabler of this practice for me to be able to have this exhibit. So thank you so much, Amber, for your work. And thank you all.
It is my honor, Marcia. Thank you.
Thank you as well. Our next project for discussion is Big Other. And Amber, I'm passing this off to you.
As you may recall, the Downtown Boston Alliance initially presented this year's interactive projects to the Boston Art Commission in December, as we finalized site approvals and permitting. Before I hand it over to the Interactive team, I do want to send out a special thanks of my own to the Boston Landmark Commission and to Property Management for the extensive feedback and support to ensure that the safe installation, de-installation, and site remediation affiliated with this project. And with that, I'll hand it over to Michael and Maria.
Michael, I think you are muted. Sorry about that.
Thank you. My apologies. And our thanks to Amber, Birgit, and Paul for all your help in working on this. We're thrilled to be back to the commission with an update from last month. Winteractive is now mostly fully installed. 16 of our 18 sites are in. Those installations that are now in are either on fully private property or quasi-public or public property that's subject to LMI agreements with private property holders in their management. So there remain two elements that we're very excited about that remain on sort of decidedly public property, the two of which that we are sharing with you tonight. My apologies also for a little bit of childcare issues today. You may see a little bobbing head in this in my frame. So the map you see here is from a past year, but that it's a fairly similar map year to year in the number of exhibits that are placed out in the public realm, and the first 16 of which went in as of last Wednesday. Next slide. So Big Other is a project of the Collectif Pierre and Marie, a duo working out of Quebec City, Canada, that utilize mostly two-dimensional sets of eyes like those featured here. One set that sits actually on a stand that gets sprinkled through the urban fabric of a downtown. We ultimately worked with the artist to secure the rights to exhibit 6 of these, 5 of which have gone in, and you very likely have seen some positive media coverage over the last several weeks of the change that they have had to the urban fabric downtown, changing, nondescript sides of buildings or over archways or on a residential condo building downtown, the side of the famed Brattle bookstore, even sitting above an artisan handmade gallery on Milk Street. These sets of eyes have, their origins in a bit of an Orwell surveillance culture, feeling that you're always being watched. But at the same time, we like the positive and the whimsy of them changing the fabric of the urban, architectural realm that leads to changing people's day. Those of us that are here the most and see the same sets of buildings the most are now experiencing something anew, are lifting our heads out of phones and off the sidewalk and checking out the city and world around us thanks to the work of these two artists. So a little bit about them. As I mentioned, they're a duo working in Quebec City. These artworks have been seen in a few places around the rest of the world. I believe this actually may be the first time that they've been seen in the United States. So as we detailed with the commission before, so I won't belabor this for either this item or the next, the Downtown Boston Alliance ultimately is in charge of the curation of Winteractive, but we do identify curatorial partners who help us source certain artworks from around this country or around the world. In the event, in consideration of Big Other, we partnered with Ex Moreau, which is a now third-year partner for us out of Quebec City, who have sourced some of the highest profile and I think most enjoyed elements of Winteractive for us over these last 3 years, including the Big Other that is before you today. And so the specific placement that we're delighted to work to propose to you today actually involves citing one set of the Big Other eyes on the side of Boston City Hall. As you might imagine, a building that has such importance to the public and such historic importance to our city certainly involved a robust public-private conversation about the appropriateness of and the placement of this artwork. And so again, our thanks to Birgit and Amber in particular for leading those conversations with the Boston Property Management Department as well as the Historic Commission. It led to, I think, a consensus agreement that involved leaving the concrete structure of Boston City Hall undisturbed, but leveraging a placement and an installation method within the mortar joints of the red brick facade on the Congress Street side of the building, which I believe we can show in a moment. And so you see here one of the sets of eyes, the two-dimensional eyes that would sit at the top of what is I believe, no longer used staircase up to a mezzanine level of City Hall. So this area is not available to the public, behind these eyes or up that staircase. But the placement both brings, again, a lot of whimsy, like this set of eyes is sort of looking at, the audience, the City Hall itself, or the audience is walking to the left of the building. I think one of the things we find enjoyable is that during the winter, it's also where the high-profile Red Bull snow-based event, snowboarding event takes place down the set of stairs where these eyes are kind of looking off to the left. So I think there'll be some really wonderful pictures when that event is in town. But again, it leverages the brick element of the building and a placement that sort of helps to animate the eyes. We also appreciate it being across from Faneuil Hall. So it's a high profile location in the city where the eyes will resonate with those that look at City Hall the most and those who are looking at it for the first time while visiting our city. So we propose an installation that would occur no earlier than tomorrow morning. I think actually now an updated date on this may be for Thursday, but we did not want to locate the installation or conduct the installation until moving through this final step in our process in hearing the feedback from the BAC before moving forward. But we have aligned all the city agencies that have otherwise studied this, and they are excited about this potential install going in this week. Any questions or any? So fabrication. So I think we detailed maybe some of this previously, but the eyes end up installing into mortar joints with I think about 4 anchor points per eye. It's a very easy remediation process at the end to fill it with a waterproof material that maintains the integrity of the wall itself. Maria, do you want to detail sort of the very specific fabrication in terms of the way in which the eyes are anchored?
Of course, yes. So good afternoon, commissioners. Thank you so much for having us here. We are extremely fortunate that we were able to work with the artist team to get very good clarity as to how these would be installed, recognizing the importance of City Hall. So like you can see here, each eye is almost about 4 feet wide in diameter and about 1 1/8 inches in depth. And they weigh about 12 pounds per eye. The way that Pierre and Marie have created this structure is that essentially there are 2 French cleat brackets, gravity brackets, that essentially are behind each eye. You can see here a slightly lower resolution than I'd hoped image. And so essentially they have a template that they use to ensure that the distance of the brackets are correct so that it's a perfect fit with the set of brackets that are on the opposite side of the eyes. What we will be doing is that we will be using that template to drill 8 pilot holes into the mortar of the brick facade, and then we'll use a steel sleeve anchor that will then be used to attach using steel bolts to secure that gravity bracket to the facade of the building. So in total, it will be 8 bolts for each set of eye. And then we will be hanging the eyes with the French cleat brackets onto the new brackets installed onto the facade. And then in addition to that, they use a wire cable that wraps around both, essentially ensuring that in high winds or just whatever might come, it doesn't accidentally fall off that gravity bracket, and it would still be secured in case of any winds or anything else that might potentially cause vibrations. Here you can see some closer technical specs showing how the brackets are installed, as well as the distance and the placement of the 4 pilot holes that would be put with the sleeves that would be put into the facade of the building. Lastly, for our installation plan, as of now, we are proposing that we would be arriving early in the morning with a boom lift to the denoted location on the map, the little square red rectangle, and that this install would take at most maybe 2.5 to 3 hours. We're again really fortunate that this would be the 6th install that we've done of the big other set. So we've had experience at 5 other locations across the downtown, and our team is very knowledgeable as to how to install these brackets. So we're hoping that actually we might be able to install it in even less time, at which point the DBA team would move the lift and any other equipment used offsite. Lastly, we would be placing signage right next to that red rectangle so that people would be able to learn more about the artwork, also find additional locations of the other Winteractive pieces, and then also find information online should they want to learn more about the initiative, as well as any of the other artists that we are also showcasing.
Marie, before you detail anything else about the maintenance plan, I would just note the range of buildings that we've installed these so far.
Yes.
So, a Class A office building actually quite near to City Hall at 28 State Street, one of the highest value buildings downtown in terms of assessed value. The side of the Brattle bookstore, as I noted before, on an older, brick building, not dissimilar to the aging condition of the wall at City Hall. Atop, the artisan studio I mentioned on Milk Street, on the facade of the Hyatt Regency Hotel in downtown and the facade of the condo building on Tremont Street. So a variety of materials, a variety of conditions, all thus far installed successfully.
Thank you for mentioning that, Michael. We've been really fortunate to be able to install these on a really large variety of different building facade treatments. And so I think we've seen it all to our own worry and dismay that sometimes it would cause more issues than it did. It was pretty seamless. Like mentioned here for our maintenance plan, we do have our ambassador team that regularly monitors the area, and then simultaneously for any private locations, we also work with people in the area to flag any issues that might come up. Seeing as how City Hall Plaza is a public location, we'll be paying extra attention through our DBA staff to make sure that nothing happens. Thankfully, seeing as how this is a fairly short run in terms of the install, it's only about 10 weeks. Pierre and Marie do not foresee us needing to do any additional maintenance for this piece during that timeline. And like Michael had mentioned previously, our team will be doing building remediation at the very end, removing the sleeve anchors from the mortar, as well as then using waterproof caulking to limit any future water penetration to the brick facade. We obviously want to preserve the integrity of the amazing landmark that we have here in our city, and so we're very keen to not leave any lasting damage.
And then we look to the commission. We appreciate your consideration. We don't know whether you hope to stop and ask questions about each item and vote in between each item, or if you want to take them together and then vote at the end, but we're happy to proceed as you wish. Mr.
So
Chair.
before I answer that question, maybe John or Birgit are we voting on this?
Yes, James, we'll vote on this.
All right, great. So with that being said, I will open up to any commissioners who may have any questions or comments.
Michael and Maria, thank you so much for the presentation. I do like the whimsy of these eyes, and I hope to walk around and see other installations in various and on various buildings. Regarding the remediation of the waterproof caulk, I just want to confirm with you, I believe you shared this in the presentation, that this remediation strategy was discussed with the other agencies, including landmarks and any others that needed to approve this project, just to confirm that they're aware of it and they are fine with the plan that you have moving forward.
Maybe I can answer that, Michael. Yes, we were able to, over the kind of November, December period, able to meet with various entities, discuss the remediation plans. We also met when Pierre and Marie came into town. We walked the site, we explored. Originally we were proposing potentially doing this location or the placement on the concrete facade of City Hall Plaza, and they raised concerns, and we were able to discuss that, which is why we walked the site and we highlighted this new location, which we thought would be a much easier remediation process. We received the needed approvals that they agreed with the plan. They thought that this was a much better approach and a much better location. So in general, the artist team, we as DBA proponents, landmarks and property management, we were all able to come to consensus on making sure that this was not going to cause any additional damage.
Thanks, Maria.
Any other commissioners? I see. Nothing more for commissioners. How about opening it up to the general public? Anyone have a comment or a question at this time? Okay. With that being said, or not, is there a commissioner who wishes to make a motion to accept this final design for the Winter Active at City Hall Plaza?
I'd like to make a motion to approve the Winter Active final design for City Hall Plaza.
Thank you, Diana. Second?
Second.
Thank you, Kenny. When I call your name, please say yay or nay. John?
Yay.
Ian?
Yay.
Diana?
Yeah.
Nigel?
Yay.
Caitlin?
Yes.
And Kenny?
Yay.
And I am a yay as well. So the motion has been moved. Congratulations. And you have a quick turnaround time for installation. So good luck with that.
Thank you very much.
And before Michael and Maria, you begin your next, let me just introduce our next project for discussion is The Word on the Street, a temporary installation as part of Winter Active at 500 Washington Street. And Birgit Worster will introduce the project. Or is it Amber? I can't tell.
Sorry about that. I got it.
Thanks,
Uh,
Amber.
Just some context. I want to share that through the site approval process for the public art and design applications or proposals, our team has the opportunity to work with local businesses like the DBA, other organizations and constituents who are proposing public art to set new precedents for our city. I think that's really exciting. And that happens often in the way of activating uncommon sites. So the next presentation is particularly exciting because it took several conversations behind the scenes with the Street Lighting Division and the Transportation Department to approve this project based on its unique design. I'm so excited to hand it back to the DBA to propose Word on the Street.
Thank you, Ember. And I really appreciate your comments because I think part of what we have found in now year 3 of Winter Active, which has comprised over 51 sites of installation of public art over the last 3 years, is that we occasionally blaze perhaps some new ground and try to find where the pain points are, particularly as the overlap of public realm and our interest intersect. This is an area where I think, we proposed to all of you a broader vision a month ago, and where given the reality of and the positive discourse with our public realm partners, we have substantially pared back the request for you for official approval tonight. And so this project included, as of when we last proposed to you, 9 individual elements, 8 traffic-like metal signs with uplifting statements, and then a 9th that is a neon lit neon version of one of those signs. Over the course of the discussions we had during the holidays with our public realm partners, we have withdrawn the request to place the 8 metal signs on public land, and all 8 of which are now successfully installed in 2 pods of 4 on private non-vehicular plazas within the downtown. I think with a broader amount of time to discuss, we may have reached a different result, but we felt, and I believe our public realm partners felt that this was an appropriate resolution of where we were for this year. The 9th element that remains pending before you is the installation of this neon sign in a location that we think will greatly augment a row of neon marquees within the theater district component of our downtown in downtown Crossing on Washington Street. And so the Word on the Street is a project, I think, as we move to the next slide, by artist Scott Froschauer, an American artist located, I believe, in Southern California, who's been seen in a number of locations around the United States, and who, for us, I think we have enjoyed that Winter Active includes, interactive elements, family-friendly elements, weird, off-kilter, maybe a little, strange elements at times, but then each year we also try to have a few elements that just make people feel good and put a smile on their face. And for us, the Word on the Street was a project that accomplished that, taking the typology of a traditional traffic sign, which tends to have negative messages: stop, yield, do not enter, and he flips it on its head with uplifting and inspirational messages. And we had a conversation at our staff meeting last week about the fact that the placement of these artworks really anywhere in the downtown will lead to someone, and maybe more than one someone, on maybe one of the very worst days of their life coming across a piece of public artwork that we catalyzed into our downtown that gives them positive affirmations about a better outcome in their lives. And so it's a quite meaningful set of artworks that we're delighted to have maintained an appropriate placement for the 8 works that are already in, and are now proposing to you a 9th location that we believe to also be appropriate. So we actually sourced Scott directly. We had seen his work installed in Miami and thought it would be an excellent fit for Boston. So a little bit more about Scott. I believe this was in your packets ahead of time, and so I've detailed some of the work he does. I think that sign behind him is a pretty close replica of the one that we're pursuing for this project. And so the proposed placement here would be still within the pedestrian zone of downtown, still facing away from authorized vehicle traffic on Washington Street. So a vehicle traveling lawfully down Washington through the ped zone, an authorized public safety vehicle or livery vehicle or delivery vehicle, would not encounter the sign. It would be behind them as they're passing that area. But the Relax You're Okay neon sign would be placed in such a way outside the Wonder Museum, our experiential art museum in the downtown, across from the Godfrey Hotel, where we have, for the most part, 24-hour-a-day security apparatus and a partner organization that could help us to keep eyes on it over and beyond the capacity of our own ambassador staff. But I think most importantly for this project, with the neon marquee facing towards Downtown Crossing, so that when you stand in the heart of our neighborhood looking towards Chinatown from Downtown Crossing, you would take in not just this project, but the row of marquees from the historic theaters of Downtown Crossing, the Paramount, the Modern Theater, the Opera House, and that this sign would be in keeping with the style of those signage typologies as part of this temporary artwork. So this is a rendering, thank you, Maria, of the actual placement of where this would be located, the direction it's facing, the rough height, which was again approved by BTD and Public Works to be out of reach of the pedestrians that come through that area, so as to not interfere with people moving through that area, out of reach of most vehicles that could possibly hug the curb in that location. So a secure location on a city street pole with permission from the city, lit by that same street pole with a relatively modest power draw. And then I think we detailed this when we first came before you in December, so I won't to extend the discussion of this, but we do have a number of different community engagement programs that we run in partnership with Winteractive. Our kickoff event last week was fully open to the public and saw somewhere between 200 and 300 members of the public join with the artists and curatorial partners and sponsors and host sites of Winteractive. We have traditionally now, I think, begun to ramp up the number of artist talks that occur throughout the year. We have 2 Boston-based artists for this year's exhibition, the most we've had yet. And so we expect to have talks and events with them this year. And in addition, we expect to significantly ramp up the free public tour series, of which we did probably 20 last year, but we expect to do many more than that this year, including a wide number of them during school vacation week to attract families and children and Boston Public School students during the vacation period that overlaps with Winteractive this year. Maria, do you want to speak to fabrication and install?
Yes, of course. So this piece, like I mentioned, or like Michael mentioned previously, is a little bit different than some of the other artworks that have currently been installed. This one actually is much more sturdy. As you can see, it's like an aluminum frame. It actually does feature neon lights that Scott himself makes. So we are very excited that we are going to have additional people, eyes on the street looking at the sign, both through the Wonder security camera. Wonder is a wonderful partner for us. They are not only sponsors of Winteractive, but also are extremely keen to showcase this artwork right in front of their location. They have also featured some of Scott's other works at their Chicago location. So they do have a very strong relationship with him as well. They've confirmed with us that as of now, we've met with street lighting division as well as the larger streets cabinet to ensure that the weight of the sign is not going to be too heavy. As of now, the aluminum frame plus the neon lights plus the cabling weighs just under 40 pounds, which is not an issue for the street lamps. We've also coordinated that the power draw that it will be pulling from the lamp is also under a normal amount. And we have coordinated to also have an inline timer so that after a certain hour, the light itself will turn off so that it is not on overnight. We plan to install this using standard bracket and hose clamp typology that you see on your typical City of Boston signage. If you go out onto any street lamp that has a City of Boston sign, you'll notice that it is a very similar system, just a hose clamp and a bracket. So Scott and us were able to coordinate to make sure that it's the same kind of install treatment that you see for any other official sign. Like you'll see here, we also were aiming to maybe install this as early as tomorrow, but most likely it'll end up being on Thursday. And we will just go out with a ladder and make sure that it is at an appropriate height to make sure that no one runs into it, no one is going to accidentally hit it, and that it is outside of anybody potentially messing with it we don't need anybody breaking this and causing a cleanup issue on the street.
Next slide.
Oh, sure
Those
enough,
are-
here, yeah, here's the bracket and the hose clamp that I was describing. So it is a pretty standard treatment and it's fairly quick install. We don't see this taking longer than 30 minutes.
Maria, correct me if I'm wrong. The only thing that differs here from our installation method is that we have a rubber membrane that we put between the bracket and the
Yes.
pole so as to not scratch it or cause any other negative impact.
That is a great point, Michael. Yes, we did cut some rubber material that will go in between the hose clamp and the lamp post itself.
Maria, do you want to detail the maintenance?
Sure. So, like I mentioned, this one is a little bit more of a finicky project just because it does feature electricity, and we recognize that should something happen to it, that now becomes a safety hazard, which is why we were very keen to try to propose this location. We have security cameras that will be pointed at the sign through our partnership with Wonder, and then also having additional eyes on the street through the Godfrey Hotel, which is right in front of this placement. The sign is designed to withstand inclement weather in the winter months, so we are not worried about that challenge. We also have an ambassador pop-up normally set up at the intersection of Washington, Summer, and Winter. So if anything does happen, we have ambassador access quickly to be able to notify the larger team. As of now, we're proposing that the sign will be placed 7 feet off the ground to deter vandalism or any mobility concerns to pedestrians using the sidewalk, knowing that it is a narrow corridor. And lastly, like I mentioned, we want to have round-the-clock eyes on this just to make sure that it doesn't have any challenges throughout the 10-week period.
With that, we would welcome comments or questions.
Thanks so much, Maria and Michael. Really appreciate it, and appreciate you coming back for this second meeting. So thank you. Commissioners, any questions?
I do have a question to the last point in terms of it being 7 feet off the ground. When this has previously been exhibited elsewhere, have you found that it was vandalized or something has come to damage it other than not?
We have not.
Yeah, no.
I'll just say two thoughts. We have not. Scott has not, I think, had issues with vandalism in the past. That said, one of the core tenets of Winteractive is anything breakable doesn't go reachable, and so there's a reason our inflatable characters are all 30, 40, 50 feet off the ground, and the stuff on the ground is designed to absorb, human impact, be it malfeasance or the like. So this is one where I think is delicate enough. We wanted to put it in a position that was out of reach for people.
And with that in mind, to follow up from what James asked, you said that it would turn off on a timer. I'm just curious if you've determined what time it may go off at night.
I think as of now, when we were discussing, we were thinking that it might turn off after midnight. Obviously, we want to be respectful to the businesses, but it also is a neon sign. So we want to leverage the unique factor. Like if we're going to put it out on the street right in front of all the marquees, it also, we want to make sure that people can experience it in the nighttime and get the most out of it.
Completely understand. Thanks, Maria.
The good thing, it gets dark at 4 p.m. now for the remainder of Winteractive.
Any other commissioner questions? I now open it up to any members of the public who might have a comment or would like to ask a question. Well, hearing none, would a commissioner like to make a motion to approve the word on the street installation in Downtown Crossing?
I can make a motion to approve.
Thanks, Ian. Do I have a second?
Second.
Thanks, Caitlin. After I say your name, Commissioner, please say yes if you agree with the motion. James?
Yes.
Ian?
Yes.
Diana?
Yes.
Nigel?
Yes.
Caitlin?
Yes.
Kenny?
Yes.
And I'm a yes as well. Michael and Maria, thank you so much for all of the conversations and all of the work you've done to create these installations in and around the downtown business district. I hope it goes well this year, and hopefully we'll see you again next year. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you to members of the commission. Thank you to all the public officials that helped us, especially the BAC staff.
Thank you.
And now our last order of business for today is adjournment. That was all the projects to go through. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
You do.
Thanks, James. Do I have a second?
Second.
Was that you, Kenny?
Yes.
Thanks, Kenny. Please say yes, commissioners, if you agree to adjourn. James,
Yes, indeed.
Ian,
Yes.
Diana,
Yes.
Nigel,
Yes.
Caitlin,
Yes.
Kenny,
Yes.
and I'm a yes as well. The meeting is adjourned. Commissioners, thank you so much for being here. MOAC staff, thank you again for all of your work, and we'll see you next month.